everybody, welcome to Wine and Winchesters. Today we are talking about last night's episode, King of the Damned, and ooh, do we have a lot to talk about. Yeah, so let's just dive right in. I'll start by saying that I got home from work last night right at about 9:45, and I flipped on the TV because I was just going to start the episode, and I hit a button and it flipped to the CW, and I happened, before anything else, saw Dean standing, kneeling by Abaddon's body covered in blood, and I was like, well, I know that happened.
Oh, why did I see that first? Yeah.
So yeah. That's I knew that was coming throughout the whole episode, which kind of put a little damper on it, but I still really liked the episode a lot. I thought there was a lot to dig into. So,
yep.
Poughkeepsie, anybody?
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was cool.
When that came back up, I knew in the then section, I knew that was going to come into play at some point during the episode. So, drop everything and run. So, yeah.
I had a total geek out moment in the then section because they showed Cass's army, and I saw my friend's husband in the background. So I was like, "Hey, there's Brandon again." We made it into the pre-episode promo. So
now we get to see he's been on 2 episodes.
I just realized a friend of mine who's in a geeky mommy group that I'm in. Her brother wrote not this last episode of Supernatural, but I think it was the backdoor pilot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's one of those the internet makes it a very small world. But I couldn't get on last week when that was happening to be able to.
Andrew Dabb is her brother?
Do what?
Andrew Dabb is her brother?
I have to check. Hang on. She screenshot.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Carry on amongst yourselves. We'll see if I can find it. No, yeah. he had a long last name, and it was difficult to spell because she was really excited that they spelled it right. I will keep looking. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. Yeah, there was that Poughkeepsie thing between Dean and Crowley and the subsequent exclusion of Sam, I thought was just a very, very interesting moment. And I love that we're seeing Dean's evolution to the dark side, and he's doing the same sort of denial-y, no, it's fine sort of stuff that Sam did with the Ruby Blood.
Yeah, I'm also wondering what Dean's other reasons were for excluding Sam in that scene. I know we're jumping right to the end of the episode here, but he obviously had reasons, and not just. I don't think it was just him worried about Abaddon using Sam against him in some way. I think he's worried about himself in a situation where he's psyched up to fight, holding the first blade, not being able to control what he will do. And kind of if Sam hadn't come in when he did, who knows, he might have just beat Abaddon's body into jelly. I mean, he really was not going to stop. So. Yeah.
Well, it's good to also know that Sam can still bring him back from that.
Yeah. I don't know how much longer that's going to work, though, because,
Moving backward a little bit, I loved that they went to a gross-out place with the first blade in the body. I kind of missed that in the earlier episodes of the show where they would go full gross out with stuff like that, and the night shifter, little piles of skin everywhere, those sorts of things. They used to do a lot more of the practical effects like that, and I always like it. I think it's fun, and honestly a bit kind of realistic in the sense that hunting would be a gross job.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Digging up dead things is not. They're not always going to come up on dry bones.
Your manicure will not finish the day intact, kind of.
Yeah. So,
Sam was the one to get the blade because I think he's starting to know that Dean has an issue, and he's starting to realize just how wrong he's been about where Dean's at mentally, because he'd been trying to push him into cracking, and that's not going to crack him. That's not going to break through his wall or whatever he's putting up. He's farther gone than Sam realized, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely something that showed through in that episode was in an eerie falling to pieces. He's very together about it. And I think that I mean, together in the sense that he does have that calm that he talked about. He has that purpose. And that is almost scarier than if he were just off the handle killing everything in sight. Like, a purposeful dark deed is scarier than someone who's just, like, flailing around willy-nilly.
Yeah, because it's like to the exclusion of every other emotion and feeling, and it's just that darkness and that you know, demonic quality almost.
Yeah.
It's that calm before the storm, because you know that something's coming, and it's not like he's just, like you said, spastically running about doing this and that, but when it happens, when the blow-up happens, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk a bit about Gavin and his inclusion in this. And
that was like the one part of the episode that completely confused me, though. It's like, how are they going to... Eventually they're going to have to send him back to his original timeline, you know, to make season 6 possible still, since that's already happened. So
but he died. Remember, he was getting on a boat the next morning and he was going to die. So
right,
Gavin,
that has to happen in order for Bobby to find his ring, in order for Bobby to summon him to use the information he got from Gavin against Crowley to get his soul back.
Yeah.
Couldn't it have still happened before, though?
Yeah, that happened. Well, that happened in season 6, but this Gavin, happened.
What Laura's saying is that Crowley...
No, I knew what she was saying. I'm sorry. I think I've been watching too much Doctor Who, because I was about to go, but timey-wimey, and I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, so in order to not totally... Shut up, phone! Screw up the timeline. My husband is here, and he's just not answering it, because that's how he is. God, what a jerk. Anyway, yeah, no, if they don't do that, then how did Bobby ever get his soul back? How did, that whole plot line goes out the window, and it's like, well, you just can't do that. You've got to send him back. He can't die in this timeline, or, whatever. So
yeah,
he at least has to get back and die on that boat so that ring can be there for...
Yeah, exactly, because that is messing up the timeline there. I'm trying to find this actor's name who played Gavin. I always there we go, I found it. I always kind of cringe a little bit whenever there's going to be like a Scottish accent, because I never know if they're going to actually hire a Scottish actor or if they will not. So I'm trying to find that out.
Yeah, because I know it's been 2 different actors now, so...
Yeah. I'm not finding anything.
The original, the one from the first time will be, from season 6, will be probably on the site, but the one from last night might not be up yet.
Yeah, I found him, but it doesn't really say anything about where he's from or anything like that. But I mean, there were a couple moments where I always kind of twitch at accents, because I can tell the difference between a Scottish and an accent, or a Scottish and an Irish accent, really quickly. And there were a couple words he pronounced that were a little bit muddly. But I would feel bad saying that if you were actually Scottish. So
I try and say, well, the poor guy just got, zapped out of 1791 or whatever the hell he got zapped out of, and maybe that's just how they talked back then, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those weird little things that just gets me in watching things is like having lived over there. Like I don't think I could do any better, but it's just a funny little niggly thing whenever I'm watching something and they have a character who's supposed to be Scottish and like randomly sounds Irish instead. I'm like, come on, everybody. Like, so and the same thing goes with I'm sure when they have Americans doing like English accents in English film or something like that, it doesn't always work out very well. There's what was that movie with Anne Hathaway a few years back, like Nicholas Nickleby or something like that, and
I remember that movie.
that was one of the worst English accents. I love Anne Hathaway, and she's improved greatly from that, and she must have had some vocal coaching when she did accents later, but oh my gosh, that movie, I watched it, I'm like,
I didn't watch it because I love the Royal Shakespeare Company's Nicholas Nickleby. It's like 9 hours long, but oh my god, I love it. So I refuse to watch another production of that. So
yeah, but I would say don't watch the movie. It's not. But yeah, sorry to derail the episode talk there. Like I said, a little bit scattered today. Let's talk a little bit about Gadriel.
Okay.
Because there was some interesting Cass and Gadriel stuff going on in this episode, and what I found most fascinating is that Cass appealed to Gadriel's sense of honor, and I liked how he utilized the Winchester brothers to find out exactly, or specifically Sam, how he utilized Sam to discover sort of Gadriel's motivations and what upset him.
Mm-hmm.
And then played upon that when he talked to him. I mean, Cass was being a pretty master manipulator in those scenes, but also, could have been sincere as well, which I liked. Like there was on both sides of that, like he could have been totally playing Gadriel, but he also could have been very sincere, understanding that he's kind of been in that place before of thinking he was doing the right thing and ended up doing the really wrong thing. So I think Cass can relate. But I really found those scenes and the interplay between those two characters to be really intriguing.
Yeah, I chose to see it as, Cass has sympathy for what Gadriel's going through, having been through it himself, and was asking Sam just to make sure, because the rumor about Gadriel being the one to, let Lucifer into the Garden of Eden, that he was in cahoots with Lucifer or somehow evil himself, and Cass just had to confirm, had to be sure that Gadriel really was as naive as he thought he was, and had been suckered in just like he had by Metatron. So I think he was looking to Sam for confirmation of his beliefs, and Sam confirmed them, even though Sam's final analysis was, he's, kind of dangerous and whatever, because of how he killed Kevin. I think that Cass realizes that he was already under Metatron's control at that time and had already been manipulated into killing Kevin, and knowing that he had been manipulated into causing all the angels to fall from heaven, he couldn't lay that on Gadriel. He couldn't in good conscience, or else he would have to blame himself for everything else.
Yeah, and Cass has a more pragmatic view of human life as well. So I mean, looking at Kevin, weighing Kevin's life against what he did, which was allowing all the angels to fall from heaven. I think that the Winchesters would feel that Kevin's life outweighed that, but Cass, on the other hand, might not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that I can see where you'd look at it as a confirmation of Gadriel's character, but I also, for my part, my first thought was like, especially later, I mean, it was more of a hindsight thought of like, oh, you know what, I bet that's why he asked Sam about it, because he totally used it. Like, he absolutely utilized every bit of information that Sam gave him against Gadriel, and it worked really well. So that's why I thought, he was trying to learn his enemy, which for me struck me as a very tactical move from someone who's now in charge and kind of doing what he thinks needs to be done. So it kind of struck me as a general's move, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yep.
Where did Summer go?
She held up a finger, said she'd be right back, and then darted off to the side. So I don't know.
She'll be back.
But yeah, she'll be back. Her screen's still showing her room there, so. The only thing that really struck me wrong until I read somebody else's opinion of the scene, and then I'm like, well, yeah, but that's just really crap writing if that's the case. But the scene where Cass, hi Summer, where Cass asked, had called them there, and then just assumed that the Winchesters would do his torturing. And I don't know if it was explained to me, because, I just keep thinking back to, season 4 when Cass is like, if there was anything else I could do, I would, do anything to not have you do this to Alistair. And that's Alistair, come on,
Yeah.
He was asking him to do that because of what it would do to Dean. And knowing that Dean has the mark of Cain and is, like, more prone to maybe violence, now he's like, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I'd really appreciate it, kind of thing. It's like, what? And then
an angel, not a demon.
And yeah, one of his own kind. It's like, well, he's already said in this very episode, I don't want to do any more angel on angel violence. Well, is it okay if you put Dean on angel violence? But then it occurred, I read something and it was like, well, the angel obviously had not been tortured to this point. I mean, he wasn't covered in blood, or he wasn't suffering, or he wasn't distressed even. He was just sitting in the chair. It's like they were just trying, maybe had tea with the guy and tried to coax it out of him. And I'm like, well, but maybe Cass wasn't asking them to torture the guy, but frighten him with the notion, knowing Dean's reputation and his 40 years in hell as a torturer. It's like, well, maybe the guy will just pee his pants and talk. So, it's like, well, Sam had the right idea guiding it into a non-violent confrontation, even though it turned out to be quite silly.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah.
But the idea that Cat would ask it of him just bugged me. It just seemed out of character. But then again, pragmatic general behavior, I don't know.
Yeah, that for me didn't really stick out, actually. Like, I didn't even kind of blink at that, I guess. And
I got really good. I saw that.
But yeah, I really there was a lot of interesting emotional manipulation going on in this episode. I mean, you had Abaddon leveraging Gavin against Crowley. You had Sam puttering with the ego of this angel. You had Castiel utilizing Gadriel's backstory to try to flip his hat from black to white, and it ended up being that's interesting that there was like a trio of those things happening in one episode. Just a lot of people using kind of wit, I guess, and trying to get inside their opponent's head as opposed to outright violence, and some outright violence, but that's kind of an interesting turn for this episode to have taken, I think.
Mm-hmm. I want to know what's up with the angel in the red suit. And where is Cass's leak? Somewhere Cass has got a leak in his organization. Because otherwise he wouldn't have been attacked at his first meeting with Gadriel.
Yeah.
Sorry. Concred. Any hoodle. But that red-suited angel just stood out in my mind like a big flashing red light. It's like, what's this guy's deal? All the other angels are either in their little suits and ties, or they're, dressed like they're going to the mall or something, and here's this guy in a flashy red suit, so.
Yeah.
The suit really stuck out to me, too, because you don't really see anybody in, like, a full red suit. Other than, like,
shirt, red jacket, man, he looked snazzy.
He did.
Yeah.
But everybody else was kind of like drab, even Dean was wearing a modified Castiel uniform with the colors, the tan shirt, which in the previews for next week, he's still wearing that tan shirt underneath his coat. It's like, what the hell?
Did you notice the girl that was working with Cass? I didn't even know if she really spoke, other than a couple of words, but she was wearing, like, a modified Cass outfit. She was wearing, like, it was like
and then got stabbed to death. Yeah,
she had, like, the black and then, like, the blue button-up shirt underneath it, and then, like, the short jacket that looked like a shorter trench coat, the same color as Cass's. Like, she looked like a little, like, Cass's little sister or something. It was weird.
Mm-hmm. And
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, she got stabbed by one of the attacking angels in the first Gadriel meeting in the park. So
yeah, I'm wondering with the red suit guy. It would be pretty funny if he was a literal red herring.
Yeah,
that would be funny.
That would make sense, and it feels like something the supernatural writers would do. Like, hey, the red herring. He's like, let's just put him in red.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's an obvious that color, that decision of the wardrobe people is obviously deliberate.
Yeah.
So they either did it to draw. I mean, they did it to draw attention to him, obviously. So that's interesting to me.
Or we will spend all this time talking about it, and it'll turn out it was just a dude in a red suit.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like a total just like. That it doesn't mean anything, and it was just a guy in a red suit, but they put him in a red suit to draw attention to him.
Yeah.
And
to make us think there's something going on.
Yeah.
They like keep the fandom on their toes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, is there anything else you all had to say about this episode? I'm trying to think what else there was.
The final disappointment for me was the final battle between, like you said right at the beginning when you saw it first, the battle between Dean and Abaddon. It ended up looking like, Magneto.
Yeah, kind of.
When Dean dropped the knife and it's on the floor and his hand's all twitching, you know that the knife is getting ready to move. Did anyone else yell,
Asco?
Use the Force, Dean!
Yeah.
That actually happened here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually screamed out Accio. Okay, so there you
go.
Yeah.
And it worked. It flew right into his hand. But
yeah, I definitely that one was not something I would have predicted going into the episode, but in the moment I was like, oh yeah, he's totally gonna have that much control over it, isn't he? Like, the mark and the blade are bound, so it makes sense, but...
Yeah, it's a little frightening.
Yeah. Makes me wonder, like, if Dean gets to the point where he's really in tune with it, if he would be able to find it if it were lost.
Oh, like Sam was talking about hiding it, maybe Sam's going to try to hide it, and Dean's going to be able to find it anyway.
Yeah.
Did either of you see the preview for next week's episode? That was at the... It was like a 2-minute little clip online, but it's a little clip from next week's episode where they're packing to go off, and because Cass is apparently called and he's got a lead, and he wouldn't talk to them about it over the phone, but Dean's standing at the table in the library packing up a duffel bag, and he's wrapping up the first blade in a cloth, and like he's going to pack it, and Sam talks him out of bringing it with him and says, save that one for the boss battles, blah, blah, blah. We're putting it in a, you don't need it right now. And he's like, just leave it here, trying to talk him out of bringing it with him. And Dean sets it down on the table and says, yeah, okay, I won't bring it with me. But it's like, is Dean going to bring it with him, or is he going to be able to, like, summon it somehow and override having left it behind? Or
maybe he tucks it away anyway, because my thought about that, I'm like, because they offed Abaddon so quickly, I'm like, is this going to be the thing that helps with the Metatron stuff later? The first blade, it works on, Abaddon, will it work on Metatron as well?
Yeah, because none of the angel weapons work on Metatron anymore. Holy oil doesn't work on the guy,
Yeah.
We're assuming angel blades will not work on the guy, so...
So first blade, maybe.
That's kind of what I'm wondering.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But I don't know. Just the fact that Dean can summon it even from a few feet away, it makes me think that there's an awful lot more about this weapon that we don't know yet. So.
Oh yeah, something doesn't belong to Kane without it having lots of secrets, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So he's not a guy who wears anything on his sleeve, let alone secrets of his prized weapon that he chucked in the ocean.
Yeah, because he didn't trust himself not to use it. And if that's what it takes to get away from it, I don't think Dean's going to be safe leaving it behind, even in the bunker. So.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That seems very un-Dean.
Yeah. And I mean, Kane still sequestered himself so far away from everything after that too. Like, he didn't just go about life. He had some bees, but he kept himself way isolated too. So I'm wondering if we'll see a new Dean.
I don't know. I mean, I know it's coming, but it kills me.
Here comes Tara with her fluffiest tail in the world.
You know, Tennant is going to give her a run for her money. I mean, seriously, like, he got huge. Aside from that, like, he's enormous now, but he has the fluffiest tail. It's so fluffy. Is what it is.
Yeah, hers is as wide as her hip bones. Like, when she's standing up, you see, like, her butt and her tail just continues.
Yeah.
It's just,
If he wasn't over there snarfing right now, I'd grab him to show the fluff. It's a very impressive tail. I think we have, like, matching kitties. Oh, that's it. It's like a raccoon tail.
Yeah, I know. It's huge. This little kitty. It's just, it's 6 inches wide from guard hair tip to guard hair tip. I measured it. Like,
as people do.
Yeah, from that's how wide it is from tip to tip of the hair on it. It's just huge. It's like, I don't know how one tiny cat gets so much tail. It's as wide as Buffy's tail. This less
like
than
window. I'm sorry, I'm a child. Never mind.
She has she has, like, her tail is somehow as big as our full-grown husky's tail. I don't quite know how that works, but I'm happy with it. She's happy with it. Keeps her warm. She uses it as a pillow.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and Tennant's tail is bigger than the German Shepherd's tail. Big deal. We have fluff. They're fluffy. They're all very fluffy. They have a lot of fluff.
Yeah, fluff central.
Yeah.
And I just got this new camisole, which is now nicely Tara decorated after her sitting on my lap for a second. So.
Yeah, I am absolutely covered with cat fur. That's what I like about the shirt is it's not black, so it doesn't show up quite as well, but it's there. We all know it's there.
Well, shall we go off air, I guess?
Yes, might as well.
We'll see you next week, everybody. So have a good, lovely week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.